Welcome back, adventurers and storytellers, to another episode of That Midgard Show's Creature Showcase, where we help you bring your games to life in any setting by diving deep into the creatures published by Kobold Press that can be used in any setting you play in. I'm Clay. Joe will be back in future episodes. He's been traveling for his job and releasing a lot of great content on GM Toolbox. If you're not subscribed to that channel, click on the link above and that will take you there. A link to GM Toolbox is also available in the description. Today's episode is not for the faint of heart. We're exploring a creature that is as chilling as deadly. My creature floats silently on the winds, hidden within the snow, deadly as a winter storm, and strikes without warning. It's called the Blood Flurry. So let me set it up for you. After a long day of travel, you find yourself in the heart of an Arctic wilderness, navigating an icy tundra with the wind biting at your skin and snow falling softly around you. It is unnaturally cold. The snow falls gently, covering the world in a blanket of white. You are on high alert for wolves, yetis, or maybe even a white dragon as you seek a safe place to camp for the night. As you trudge through the snow, you step on something metallic. Uncovering the snow, you find the skeletons of a small party clad in badly rusted armor, their bony hands grasping rusted weapons and shields. Something's wrong. You notice the faintest red tinge at the edges of the falling snow, almost imperceptible at first. Harmless cuts begin to appear on your exposed skin, and then there are more and more. You're starting to bleed badly, and you can't stop it no matter what you do. That's when it hits you. This is not just snow. You're not alone. What do you do? The Blood Flurry is terrifying not just because of how they hunt, though let's be real. That's nightmare fuel enough. What makes them truly fascinating is their origin. They come from a place that no longer exists, a crumbling dimension where the last remnants of life scraped by feeding on decaying iron. These creatures are survivors, born from desperation and forged in the iron-rich debris of their collapsing world. Just before their home dimension completely collapsed in a catastrophic event known as the Great Crunch, the Blood Flurries slipped through a tear in reality, finding themselves in the frozen, iron-poor regions of the material plane. With the scarce metal resources available to them, they quickly adapted, and so began their hunt for a new food source: blood. The Blood Flurry is a crystalline swarm that drifts silently on the wind, blending in with falling snow. It's patient, it's intelligent in its own way, and it thrives on terror. As a GM, there's a lot of potential here to build suspense and challenge your players. So let's dive into how you can play this creature to its fullest in your next encounter. Blood Flurries are delicate, crystalline aberrations in their true form, weighing no more than a quarter of an ounce. When isolated, a single one would be nearly invisible, drifting like a snowflake on the wind. However, they are almost never alone, and they travel in swarms, small colonies that move as one, blending seamlessly with the natural snowfall. Their greatest strength lies in their camouflage. When motionless, they are indistinguishable from ordinary snowflakes. When a Blood Flurry senses a creature nearby, especially one warm-blooded and full of iron, it stirs. The swarm closes in silently, their jagged crystalline limbs sharp enough to pierce flesh. And here's where it gets even darker. The Blood Flurry just doesn't cut you, it feeds. Its saliva contains enzymes that keep wounds open and blood flowing, making it easier to absorb the iron it needs to survive. Once the blood flows, their translucent, snowy appearance fades, replaced by a sickening red as the creature gorges themselves on the life essence of their victims. But don't think for a second that just because they're fragile, they're easy to defeat. A swarm of creatures is more than capable of overwhelming the unprepared. Once the Blood Flurry is revealed to your players, combat may ensue or your players run for their lives. Now this is where things get fun for you as a GM. As I mentioned earlier, the Blood Flurry is a swarm, which means it can occupy the same place as the PCs. It doesn't fight like a traditional monster, and there's no single entity to target or focus on. It's a living storm. So here are some recommendations on how to play the Blood Flurry at your table. Use swarm tactics. The Blood Flurry swarm can move through the PC spaces, have it surround multiple characters simultaneously, forcing them to deal with cuts from all directions. Next, you can bleed them dry. The Blood Flurry's main attack is called Free Bleeding Cuts. It doesn't just deal damage. It leaves characters bleeding out unless they make successful saving throws or use magical healing. This creates a ticking clock. Your players will need to either heal quickly or stop the bleeding with a good medicine check before they lose more HP each turn. And then you can target multiple PCs, which puts pressure on the party. Blood Flurries can attack twice per round, and they're fast. With a flying speed of 40 feet, the swarm can close the distance quickly, ambushing characters who try to flee or find cover. Overall, these tactics can make it feel overwhelming. The Blood Flurry is relentless, moving like a force of nature, attacking anything warm-blooded that crosses its path. After the initial ambush, your players should feel the gravity of the situation. The Blood Flurry is a creature designed to test their endurance and resourcefulness. Do they have enough healing potions? Will their healers have enough spells left to patch everyone up? These are questions you want them to grapple with. But here's where you can throw in some twists. The Blood Flurry can smell the blood of any living creature within 30 feet, which means once someone is bleeding, the swarm will be laser focused on that individual. Your players might have to make tough choices. Do they leave the wounded ally behind as bait or escape? Or do they risk everything to keep the group together, which most parties do? The Blood Flurry does have a vulnerability to rust. So, if your players are smart enough to deduce the Blood Flurry's weakness, they might try to exploit its vulnerability to rust. Maybe your players are crossing an ancient battlefield littered with the rusted metal armor, shields, and weapons of those left behind. Whatever the case, give them a glimmer of hope by describing to your players the effect it's having on the Blood Flurry, but make them work for it. Would anyone in your party have a pet rust monster with them? I doubt it. The Blood Flurry isn't a creature you defeat easily, and it's not that fragile with 17 AC. But its strength lies in its numbers and its ability to wear your creatures down over time. As the GM, you get to decide how relentless the swarm is. Will it back off if the players manage to escape the storm, or will it chase them through the night, like a shadow that won't leave them alone? After a few rounds of combat, the storm begins to fade and the players can retreat to a safer area. Or, if they're determined to finish the fight, let them hunt down the remaining flurries, but make them pay for every step forward with blood. Survivors may describe these encounters as being trapped in a living snowstorm, silent, beautiful, and deadly. The Blood Flurry is more than just a monster. It's an environment, an experience, a nightmare come to life. As a GM, you can make this encounter feel like a battle for survival, where even the air around your players can't be trusted. Use the Blood Flurry's stealth, its blood-sensing abilities, and its relentless swarm attacks to turn a simple winter trek into a fight for their lives. So the moral of the tale is that if you find yourself in a cold region and the snow starts to fall, keep your eyes peeled, because the next snowflake you might see may not be a snowflake at all. That's it for now. Again, Joe will be back with us soon. Thank you for joining us today on That Midgard Show. Some of the most beautiful things in our adventuring worlds can also be the most dangerous. We love hearing from our listeners and value your feedback and comments on the content we discussed. You can reach out to us in several ways. Comment on today's episode on our YouTube channel. We read and respond to every comment, so don't hesitate to share your thoughts with us and your fellow listeners. On social media, the best place to reach us is on the Kobold Press official Discord server. There you can send us a direct message or tag us in your posts to join the conversation. And please, smash that like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. This pod is also available on your favorite podcast platform, and we'd appreciate it if you could leave a review and rating. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners who share our love for the Midgard campaign setting. So stay safe out there, and as Wolfgang Bauer says, strip it for parts and make it your own. Thank you for being a part of our community. Take care, everyone.